What's up guys, YuKo Millennia here and welcome to part 1 of the hack and slash tutorial series. In this video, we are going to make our player character along with a basic locomotion system. It's got idle pose, walk run, and jump start with jump end, and all the basic things you'll find in a normal locomotion system. If you want the project files for yourself, you can join me on Patreon. You're more than welcome to pick these up for yourself. Without any further ado, let's get started. So I have a third-person project opened up here running on Unreal Engine 5.2. I went ahead and uploaded all of the assets that we'll be using throughout this series. We may use all, if not most, of the animations, but regardless, if you have your own animations, please feel free to use them. Paid or not, this entire system will be coded to fit any type of system or animations you are using. So if we hit play right now, we have the simple third-person character, and we're gonna build our own custom character with their own custom animation blueprint, but we're gonna use the third-person template character as a base, so we don't have to code all the movement functionality, as it's quite simple. So make a new folder, and we're gonna call it hack and slash. Inside this folder, I'm gonna make another folder called blueprints. And I'm gonna grab this entire folder called inputs and drag it into the hack and slash folder. I'm gonna copy this, the third-person character template. Simply just Control C and then go to the blueprints folder in the hack and slash and just paste that in. I'll rename this to BP hack and slash character. We're gonna open this up and I'm going to change the character mesh. So here in mesh, we're gonna switch it to a UE4 skeleton. So I'm going to use the UE4 skeleton that comes with the Unreal Engine third-person starter kit. So you can tell by it says characters, mannequin UE4 and meshes. That should be the one. If you go on and hover on the other ones, it'll tell you where the path of these skeletons are. I'll be using this one. And to get this character into the game, we're gonna need a game mode. So make a game mode base. I'm gonna call it GM_hack and slash. Open this up. In default pawn class, we're gonna search and choose our BP hack and slash character. It looks like I spelt it wrong. BP hack and slash character. There we go. And inside the world settings, under game mode override, we can drag and drop this into here. And if we save all and hit play, we should see that we have our character. It's currently still using the UE5 animation blueprint. We're actually going to make our own blueprint for this. So in here, we're going to make an animation blueprint. Inside animation blueprint. Now we are going to have to choose a different skeletal mesh. And as you just saw from the demonstration, even though the skeletons are different, I'm using the UE4 skeleton, yet I can still use the UE5 animation blueprint. And so you can just make like an entirely different animation blueprint with a completely different skeleton, and it could possibly still work. Now the only issue is that the skeleton that you choose, they must have the animations that you need, or if they don't, you'll have to retarget. So all of my animations are stored in a sword pack character, which is this character right here. And if I were to choose any of the other skeletons, I won't have access to the movement animations, but the skeleton is the exact same, so I can still use this mesh even though it's not the character mesh that I'm using for my character, but the animation blueprint still work exactly the same. So I'm going to choose this skeleton right here, and I'm going to call this ABP hack and slash character, or call it locomotion. So just make that more specific, player locomotion, as enemies will have their own ABP as well. So let's save all this and open it up. And so in the asset browser, you can see all my animations, such as jumping. We will need all of these later. So we will need to start off by going to the event graph and pull up a begin play node. Begin play. We're going to drag this get pawn owner, try get pawn owner. I'm going to cast that to our hack and slash characters. Cast to BP underscore hack and slash character. And we will promote this to a variable called owner. And off of this exact same pin, we're going to need to get character movement component. Scroll all the way down, and we need to promote this to a variable as well. And we can leave that as character movement. Now in the update animation event, we need to grab a character movement and we need to make sure it is valid. So we'll only execute if our character movement is valid, as most of the information that we're going to pull comes from this component. If it's invalid, we're going to get errors. So we should only call and pull information if the component is valid. So let's start by getting the speed. To get that, we get the velocity. Scroll it down, get velocity, and we get the length. Now there are two types of length here. If you choose this vector length, you'll get the X, Y, and Z. And so if you actually need to know how fast the character is moving up or down, you would use this vector length node. But since I only need to worry about which direction moving, left, right, forward, back, I can just use the X, Y. And we can promote this to call speed. So this will update character speed. And then we'll also need to know whether or not the character is falling. So we can grab another character movement component and call a function called isFalling. And this will basically tell us whether or not we jumped or not. So if we are falling, then we want to promote that variable. Regardless if we are or not, we're going to call it b isFalling. And the reason why I keep using b in front of my booleans, it's a way to distinguish booleans from other variables. If I enter, the engine actually ignores the b, the lowercase b, and just continues the rest. And this will update isFalling. Now let's compile all of that. Now inside our animation graph, we need to grab a default slot. Default slot. And this default slot will allow us to play animation montages, which is exactly what we're going to do later in the series. But for now, let's set this up the right way so we don't have to come back and do it again. Let's make a state machine. Let's call this locomotion. Plugs into the source, straighten all these out. Open this up, and off the first entry, we're going to make a state called idle. Off the idle, we're going to need a walk and run. So walk/run. And I'm going to have jump start, jump loop, and jump end or land. So off of the walk run, we're going to add a jump start. And then go down here to a jump loop. And then go down here to jump end. And so start by the functionality here. So if we pull this back from idle to walk run, we are simply going to check whether or not the speed is greater than 0. If the speed is greater than 0, that means we are moving. If we are moving, we should actually start having the animation run. And so we can actually click on this, and here under transition rule sharing, we can actually make a sharing so we don't actually have to keep copy and pasting the same code. So if I promote this to a shared, we can give it a name, call this to walk run, and it will actually give this color. So let's say after we landed and we start running, we can actually just click on the transition, go into transition rule sharing, and just hit this, and the exact same functionality will be shared. So if I click on this, the exact same thing. So right here to idle, if the speed is equal to 0, equal, we return to the idle pose. So we can actually make this a rotation as well. So to idle. And we can actually click this and also make it to idle. Now to jump, if we are falling, then we jump. So we can make this to falling. With the chair to jump start. And in idle to jump start, we can do the exact same thing. To jump start. From jump start to loop, we simply just want to auto roll based on sequence. So this basically means after this animation sequence plays, it automatically jumps over to this loop. And on land, if we are no longer falling, so not boolean, we are no longer falling, we return back to, we enter this state, and then here to idle, we just make this an automatically rule based. So we'll always play the actual jump and the animation before we enter the idle pose. But if we are moving, we automatically jump from the jump end to the walk run. So we'll actually see how this all works once we get the animations in. So for now, this might sound all confusing, but I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about once we get this all up and running with animations. In the idle pose, we're going to search up for the idle animations. So idle. If we hit play, we should get the idle pose. If we hit compile, there it is, we get the end idle pose. So here to walk run, we're going to make a blend space for that, but let's start with the other animations that don't need it. So jump start, we can just search for jump. So here we're going to get the jump start. And make sure all of these jump start are not looping. Perfect. This one should be looping. So let's click loop animation. Jump loop should also loop as well. So jump. And we should loop that. Jump end, we do not need it to loop, so we're gonna make it not loop, which should be set by default. And we are only missing the blend space, so let's make that. Let's make a new folder here, call it, actually let's make it outside of here. Here it's called animations. Right here, we'll make another folder called locomotion. And inside here, we're gonna make our blend space in animation. Go to blend space or legacy, blend space 1D. We only need like one direction, as we just need it to change speeds, change the animation based on speeds. But if you have direction as well, you'll use the regular blend space. But we only need a blend space 1D here. So here we want to select our character mesh, the same exact one with all the animations. So it's not going to be this one, it's going to be this one with all the animations in it. So BS1D, walk run. Open this up, and inside the horizontal axis, we're going to name it speed, minimum 0, maximum. Let's check what our max walk speed is. So our max walk speed is 500. We could just set this to 500. If you have like a system where characters can sprint or whatnot, you might want to change that. But for now, we can just keep like that. So if our speed is 0, then we search up idle. We're going to drop this in right here, and that should go all the way to 0. We should have a walk. There's a walk. If we are 200, if we're at 200 speed, we walk. If we should have a run as well. If we are in 400 speed, we run. So maybe we can make this walk a lot closer, and then grab another walk and put this at 200. So characters walk, and then once we reach a certain speed, it starts to sprint, and it's working. Now let's plug this into our walk run. So search up PS1D, plug this in, and it requires a variable called speed, which we did already get. Plug that in, compile, And we can actually see this all work inside the anim preview editor. So as we increase the speed, character will start to move and change. So if we hit jump, and we'll jump, and if we land, land. You can actually see this all happen in the editor. So if we jump, go into jump, land, go into that. We set this to 0, we jump, we land, we play the land animation. So let's actually put this animation blueprint onto our character and let's give it a try. So player locomotion, compile, let's give it a run. There should be running. Animation looks a bit weird here. The speed doesn't exactly feel the same. Let's increase the speed here. Here, move it to maybe 600. Give this a roll. Okay, looks a bit better. Let's bump this up to 650. Maybe that might hit the spot. There you go. That looks more like it. If we jump, the 0 height is kind of being a bit wonky here. So maybe I might switch that out with a better animation. So let's see. The 0 height, it's not looking right, so let's pop this open. If we hit the jump, I don't have another animation here for this, so I'm gonna import one and I'll get back to you. So I went ahead and uploaded 2 more animations, and I gave them both a try, but I'm not sure which one looks better. This is the original one that I had. These 2 are the ones that I added in. For this one, I enabled force root lock, so it pushes it slightly higher, but still looks like a really small jump. So let me show you what one of my newer ones, the one that I just imported, looks like. Looks like the character's actually jumping pretty high and above the camera. But if I show collision, and I jump, it looks like the character mesh is going up out of the character capsule, which is never a good sign. So let me try another one. Let's try the original one I had with the force root lock enabled. Let me show collision. Hit play. Show collision. If I give this one a shot, it stays within the capsule, but it's kind of like it shifts down a little bit. I think we have the same issue with this bottom one. When this very top one, character kind of jumps out of the capsule. So maybe these 2 aren't the best. Maybe I can just increase the jump height and that might make it look better. So just to jump's velocity, is that really the original? What's this one? A lot shorter. The original 700. Let's make it 1,000. Okay, looks a bit nice, but that feels extremely floaty. Drop this down to 800, maybe that makes it feel better. Okay, not bad. Yeah, this jump is pretty good. Jump and animation is working just fine. Maybe I want to make the deceleration. Let's see, make that, pump that up to 250, 2500. It's alright, I guess. Let's bump this back to 2048. Alright. Seems that everything is working as is. You might want to tweak some of these values here. Get the locomotion feeling just right. One thing I am gonna do is turn on some camera lag, so enable some camera lag. So the camera lags behind a little bit, giving it a bit of special effects. Nice. I want to increase that speed a little bit. It's kind of a bit slow. 15. I want to also increase the spring arm. feels way too close. 500. Nice, so we have a fully functional character with jump start, jump end, jump loop, our own character, our own custom character. We'll be adding animation, state machines, and everything else in future videos, so I'll see you then.